Hi everyone, welcome to another recipe video. Today I have a Christmas special waiting for you to try out, and this is the Christmas Stollen. And this is kind of a fruit cake, so for that we'll need a lot of dried fruits and nuts. And this is ideally done weeks if not months in advance, and it preserves really well because of the dried fruits in it. So I'm starting with those. I have some sultanas here and some raisins, and I just chopped them up just to get a nice and even finer texture in the bread. To that, I'm gonna add some lemon zest. And I also have here the zest of an orange and the zest of a lemon, which have been candied beforehand. And you can buy them like this, or if you're really feeling adventurous, you could even make them yourself. So I chopped those up just to sort of match the size of the raisins. And once I'm done, I'm gonna just add a bit of vanilla. I'm gonna split this vanilla bean in half and take out all those beautiful seeds inside and dump them all in the same bowl. And this just adds more flavor. And to that, we're gonna add some liquor. I have some rum. Actually, you can use lots of things. You could use whatever you have at hand. Some brandy would be nice, cognac, anything really. So these fruits are gonna soak that up, and you can do this like a day before, and it will be really nice and marinated. Now let's get started with the actual dough. So I'm gonna add almost all of the flour and almost all of the sugar that I've quoted in the ingredients list. And I'm just gonna combine it with my hands and quickly form a well in the center where I'll add more ingredients and the liquid ingredients, if you will. So I have some lukewarm milk. This is whole milk that I just put in the microwave for about 5 to 8 seconds. And in the center, I'm gonna keep dumping things. I have some fresh yeast here that I'm just crumbling on top of the milk. If you have powder yeast, you can just use half of the amount that I quote in the description box. Now, once you've done that, you can dump in the rest of your sugar and the flour just on top and give it a little swirl to combine them all. And I like to just sprinkle the flour on top like that because it will be a nice indicator whether this is active or not. So I set it aside to rest for about 20 minutes, and this is what it should look like. So this is now ready to be worked, and I'm gonna use the stand mixer with a hook attachment for this task, just to make sure that everything is well incorporated, and also it helps when you have a very sticky dough to start with. I prefer to use the stand mixer. So I'm adding the salt to this, and while it's working, I'm just incorporating some softened butter. This is at room temperature, and this is unsalted butter. So once the butter is well mixed, you can now proceed to add the dried fruits that you've marinated beforehand. I like to do this in 2 stages, so to check whether or not I feel like there is enough filling in there. I also like to add some almonds. I only had the ones that are filleted instead of the chopped ones, but you won't even tell. Everything works rather well in this recipe. You could even get whole almonds and chop them by hand. Blanched would be better, but both will work. Once everything is mixed, you can just check the consistency. It should be very sticky, but still workable. And at this point, I'll just transfer this to my worktop and see if it needs a little bit of flour before I let it rest on the side. So the goal is to, as usual, never add too much flour, and you don't want to work it too much, but you want to make sure that it's not sticking to your hand at the time that you're ready to let this sit on the side. So I'm going to put it in a clean bowl, cover it with cling film, and let it sit for a while. I'm going to let this one rest for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. And after that, we're ready to shape this into a classic Stollen. Now, I don't have the Stollen pan for this, so I'm just going to shape it by hand. And I start with a little bit of flour on the counter and on my rolling pin. And I'm just going to roll it to a rough square or rectangle while I prepare my marzipan. Now, this is rather optional. I do like marzipan in my Stollen. And you could even make it yourself. I have a great recipe for marzipan, but if you're running low on time, of course you can buy the marzipan paste yourself. Just make sure it's a good quality one. So from this recipe, I'm getting 2 Stollens that are about 25 centimeters long. So this marzipan piece is about 23 centimeters, something that will fit in nicely when I tuck it in with the dough. I place it like so, about 1/3 of the way, and the 2/3 I fold over right in the middle and start tucking it in like so. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is the hand-shaped version. Like I said, there are forms for this, but yeah, this is one way to do it by hand and bake it in a normal baking tray. So place it nicely and very gently onto your tray and shape it further if you need to. But this is roughly the shape that you want to have. Now, adding that marzipan roll really helps this keep its shape. If you don't have one, then you might lose that little bump in the center, but that's fine. This is what they look like after they come out of the oven. They should be nice and golden brown. Now I'm just gonna let these sit for about 15 minutes so that they're not too hot. I do want them slightly warm for the next step, which is to cover them with butter. So I have some room temperature butter and a pastry brush, and I'm just gonna grab that and start brushing the entire surface of the Stollen. And we're doing this so that when we add our powdered sugar, then it will stick nicely all over the surface. And as you can see in the video, I've placed the Stollen already in a sheet of aluminum foil so that it makes it easier for me to just pack. And this was intended so that I get all of the excess icing sugar in the same place, which will help me store this even better. So now I'm just making sure that I'm wrapping it very, very tightly. You want to make sure that it's properly wrapped because it needs to sit in a dark and cool place for about 2 weeks. Although I've tried eating it on the same day and it's delicious, but it's not as good as if you would just let it sit and rest and absorb all those dried fruits and delicious goodies inside. So I really wanted to show you this next step because you don't see it very often. This is what it looks like after a couple of weeks. You see that the butter starts to absorb that icing sugar. So you might need to sprinkle it again right before serving just to give it the full effect. Now you know me and the fact that I like to show you what the end product looks like because you have to know what to expect from a recipe. So here is the Stollen slice and you see that beautiful marzipan piece shining through and it looks beautiful. And let me tell you, this Stollen is ridiculously good. It's packed with flavor from all of those dried fruits, and it really goes nicely with the almonds and the marzipan. I hope you liked this recipe. I hope you learned something new. And if you try it, please let me know in the comments. I always love hearing from you guys. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching and have a happy Christmas.